in the wild ACC where the standings are muddied, so many teams are still fighting for their finish spot. Nothing's really settled up top. Louisville goes to SMU. Louisville has 2 conference losses. SMU still just has the 1. Louisville's coming off a tough loss to Clemson where they did not play well on Friday night. SMU's been playing well recently, has rattled off some wins. And SMU in this game is a 2.5-point favorite. Y'all's thoughts on this game?
Well, if you just go look at their numbers, the one that just pops out immediately, passing game, Louisville versus SMU.
Yep.
Louisville 284 per game. That's top 20, 18th. SMU is 298.6 allowed per game, 135th out of 136 schools. Now, that being said, SMU shut down Miami. They shut down Carson Beck in the passing game, so it's not like they can't do it. They just haven't done it all season, and that'll be, I think, for me, the biggest question. Does Miller Moss and that passing attack with Chris Bell get going against SMU? 11 a.m. kick. Are you up to play? Are you ready to play for the Mustangs? Is that home crowd environment really any of a factor like it was for the most part against Miami? Those kind of factors right now lean towards Louisville. Most of the scenarios for the ACC we're most likely looking at Georgia Tech versus Virginia. But if one of those teams lose, it's SMU's spot to get.
Yep.
That's how the scenarios play out right now for the ACC. So SMU does need help. They need Virginia to either lose at Virginia Tech, and Virginia plays.
They don't play anyone this week. They're on a bye.
That's right. So they just have the Virginia Tech game, and Georgia Tech just has this game against Pitt that we'll preview later. Those are the only 2 avenues. One of those teams have to lose, and SMU has to win their final conference game, their final 2 conference games.
Yeah.
In the ACC to make it.
And how is it SMU's game spot to get if Pitt also has 1 loss?
I saw someone did the predictions,
the tiebreaker or whatever,
and the tiebreakers, and they put percentages on likelihood. Right now, I think it's like 38%. We're looking at Georgia Tech, Virginia.
Yeah.
And then the next 2 most likely scenarios are SMU is in the ACC championship.
Gotcha.
Against one of those 2 teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually misspoke. Louisville has 3 conference losses. It's been a tough stretch for them. They started off hot. They lose the game to Virginia, and then they dropped the one to Clemson where they really feel like they shouldn't have. Yeah. And then Miller Moss is in the press conference talking about how basically there's issues with this team in terms of discipline, and they need to get that fixed. And so I feel like the vibes aren't really that good for Louisville, and now you're playing for absolutely nothing. Even with the 2 conference losses, your odds were really bad. You lost the 3rd last week. So how do you come out ready for this game when it seems like the team is not very cohesive, the chemistry isn't great right now, there's discipline issues, and now you're also not really playing for anything. I'm interested to see how that looks.
Yeah, I think that Louisville, like you said, has struggled down the stretch. They peaked, they get that they lose to UVA, and then they turn around and immediately beat Miami on the road. Mm-hmm. Miami was ranked number 2 at the time. They've got all this momentum. They win 2 straight, and then, they hit the slide. They lose to Cal in OT by 3, and then lose to Clemson by 1 last week. But I think that this game is still a really, really cool matchup because Louisville is the team that we've seen hit those highs, and SMU is the team who's in the playoff last year, and now they're, like you said, in the running for another ACC championship appearance. So I think it's a great matchup of, maybe it's a matchup that's easy to overlook, which is why it's one I wanted to highlight, because you think, it's Louisville at SMU, neither team's ranked, it doesn't matter, Louisville's got 3 losses, but it's still a really, really important matchup. And then to what JP said earlier, as far as X's and O's goes, that passing offense that Louisville has, I'm really interested to see how the SMU defense plays, because all season long, I've got it in my notes, they've played with that bend, don't break defense. Mm-hmm. They have just been awful in yards per game. They've allowed, I think, they're 100 and... like you said, 135th in opposing pass yards per game.
400
but
yards
they are
per
90th
game.
in opposing yards per game and 3rd in opponent red zone scoring percentage. So basically they're letting teams trot down the field unopposed, and then it gets into the red zone, and they're number 3 in turnover margin. So that means they're getting interceptions. Mm-hmm. They're forcing fumbles.
That's what happened to Miami.
It's really impressive from them that they're able to do that, but it's definitely not, as a, if you're a fan, it's something you hate watching.
It's got to be terrible.
You hate watching teams tear through you and then getting the stop in the red zone. forcing field goals. Even if you're forcing field goals, it just is really miserable football to watch. And then they also cannot get off the field. Their time of possession is 129th at 44%. So that goes into that. You're letting opposing offenses live on the field, walk down, and then right before you break, you're like getting the stop, getting the turnover.
It makes sense that their defense is pretty good in the red zone given the way it profiles. If you struggle in coverage, it's a little easier to play in the secondary in coverage when your backside's protected. You can kind of play with everything in front of you.
Yep.
And then the run defense is pretty solid. They're pretty good up front. So it's not like they're just absolutely getting mowed down in the run game to where, oh, we can't pass on you in the red zone anymore. Well, we're just going to go run it. That's not necessarily how that's going to work. And that is another interesting thing, too, that's been noted with Miller Moss is as much as he spreads the ball around and as good as he is as a passer, and you have Colin Lacey and Bell there, they don't really stretch the field vertically. It's a yards after catch offense. It's a short pass offense. So I'm wondering if that's maybe something that SMU can handle a little better. I'm not sure, but it's just a thought.
I'll also be interested to see what kind of game we get from Miller Moss. In those couple losses that we talk about, he's had 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in the last, 4 weeks. Yeah. So he had 2 games with no touchdowns, and like I said, he's got 1 touchdown in 2 games, 3 interceptions. But he had that really great stretch in the middle of the season, including the Miami game where he had 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So I'll be interested to see if he can kind of get unspooked or whatever has happened to him because he played good teams in that midseason stretch that he had. But the recent struggles have kind of lost them a couple games. I'm not going to put it entirely on him. The team lost the games, but maybe if he can go out and throw another touchdown in one of those games or a touchdown in 2 of those games, they can come out with wins.
Sure.
But I'll be interested to see what kind of Miller Moss game we get.
I think the only thing I'm interested in, and on top of all that, is do either of these teams care about the game? Because both of these teams at points in the season have had clear playoff implications. They've clearly wanted to go to the playoff. I would assume in moments thought they will make the playoff. We're in contention to win the ACC at multiple times. Both teams have been ranked at some point in this season.
Yeah.
And now they're both unranked, both 7-3. And if it was a normal year, if it was even if it was like the 4-team era, I think they would care more about trying to get to 9-3, winning those last 2 games. Louisville winning this one at SMU and then going and beating Kentucky at home. SMU caring about their final 2 games as well. 9-3 would be could be a pretty good bowl game in a normal year, and I wonder if either of those teams care about that to any degree in this game.
Sure.
Does Jeff Brom, is he looking towards the future as well, the head coaching?
He just got his extension too, so he's
And then with Rhett Lashley, is he looking towards the future in his future coaching spot? Extensions are great, but they may not mean everything.
Sure.
Things can change. I don't think it'll change with Jeff Brom, though, with him getting his extension. But there's been some questions inside their own buildings of, is our head coach leaving at some point? I wonder how much of the vibes play out in this game. But with that being said, we can get into picking it. SMU is a 2.5-point favorite at home, hosting Louisville. I'm going to take Louisville to cover 2.5, which goes against what we talked about earlier with the spreads. But I think Louisville's the better team. I think Louisville will have the better performance. I think Louisville cares more. And with their coach getting their contract extended, I also think they have the matchup advantage with their pass offense versus SMU's pass defense, which is the second worst in the country. Give me Louisville to upset SMU on the road.
That's also what I was going to pick. So that's crazy.
in lockstep.
Now we see does Jack take his opportunity. You got that -2.5?
I'm not necessarily taking my opportunity, but I am taking SMU to cover. Talking about vibes, JP, I just don't like the vibes around Louisville right now. I think if a team is going to come out flat and not ready to play and not inspired, not motivated, I think Louisville is way more likely to be that team than SMU.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to take SMU to win at home. We've seen them have big performances at home already this season. They beat Miami, and I think they can do it again.
And as far as like, do these teams care? I pick Louisville because I think they're the better team, but I think SMU still has a lot to play for, right? You win out, and that's your best chance at winning the getting to the ACC championship. And so I don't expect them to just come out, especially at home. Hopefully they've got a crowd there. With that one ACC loss, they've still got a lot to play for. And unlike JP, I think that teams do still care about conference championships. I think that they'll come out and they'll play.